What's up, Eagles Nation? This is Steve Hyder here with Gate City Sports Channel. And today, I want to take a little bit of your time. I want to talk about what is going on with Carson Wentz, Doug Pederson, Mike Groh, and this Philadelphia Eagles offense. Because, let's be honest, we've been straight out anemic at the beginning of games. Like, what the hell is happening? Let's get to it.
Four-man rush. Wentz stands in, slings it, incomplete. Is in the backfield, number 43. They flare him out. Wentz hangs in there, fires high.
Carson Wentz drops back to pass. He throws a perfectly placed pass, and the fucking wide receiver drops the ball. Guys, that's what I've noticed on both of our opening drives, which I just showed you. Okay? So, I want to start this conversation with Carson Wentz. Because here's the thing. If you go back to the Washington game, I couldn't see all the route development just because like the angles weren't quite right from what they were showing me from the game film. But what I can tell you is from what I did see, and I couldn't see the underneath route, but I did see safety help over the top on that bottom route. Okay. Carson Wentz didn't overthrow that pass to Nelson Agholor. Okay. I'm not going to say that Nelson Agholor should have caught that pass. I mean, you hope he can catch that pass. He's an NFL wide receiver, but I mean, it is a tough pass to catch. Okay. But make no mistake what happened on the series before that. You want to know why we didn't convert that third down? You want to know why we didn't drive the ball for our second third down conversion? I think it was the second third down conversion would have been on that first series and drive. It was Deshaun Jackson fucked up. Deshaun Jackson has to be better than what he was on that possession. You can't fucking get into a fight with Dunbar on what would have been a 3rd and 2 easy pickup, down in distance and cause us to go back to 3rd and 17. You want to blame anyone for how we stalled on the first possession after we were already down 7? It was fucking Deshaun Jackson that fucked up. And that's the truth. People may not like it, but Deshaun cost us points on that. So that's just the fucking truth. But let's go into more of the actual play.
Well, Carson Wentz, Doug Pederson, first quarters have been terrible. Maybe it's the first 15. Maybe Carson is a guy.
Andy Reid was obsessed with the first 15
He was great with the first 15. I think Carson is the type of guy he wants to go empty backfield. Let me see it for myself. I'll figure out what the best play to put us in, and I'll be successful. That's what he did in North Dakota. I don't think Carson's in the rhythm, and I don't think Doug, as a play caller, is in the rhythm. And as the game goes on, they figure it out, and Carson moves around a little bit.
Okay. Let me start off by I'm a huge Brian Westbrook fan. Okay. When he came to Philly, it was like right around the time I was graduating high school, and like I went into the service, and like that Don McNabb, Brian Westbrook, even before it was really McNabb and Westbrook, back when it was the 3-headed monster with Carl Buckhalter and Deuce Staley, like I grew up during that age. Well, I didn't really grow up during that age. I really grew up in the early 90s, late 80s age, but still, like I have vivid memories of those teams. With that said, I don't agree with Brian Westbrook's take on that at all. Of course, the rhythm of the offense is out of place. But if you go back to the first game, and let's be honest, what determines the first 15 minutes? Really the first drive of the game. If you score on your first possession, your numbers are going to look really good. And to be honest with you, I thought Carson Wentz in both games so far had us moving and trending towards scoring on our first possession. But foolish mental mistakes took it away. And that ain't on Carson. That is kind of somewhat on Doug Pederson. And I really don't put that on Mike Groh. You could kind of say it's Doug Pederson because he is the manager of this ship, but still. That was a veteran playing in Washington that made that screw up.
Four-man rush. Wentz stands in, slings it, incomplete.
Okay. I'm going to tell you what I see on that play. I see a quarterback in an offense that was put in a particularly bad situation due to a foolish mental mistake by a veteran football player. Instead of being at 32, now they're in 3rd and 17. Okay? I know on the surface it looks like, oh, well, yeah, Wentz let that ball get away from him. He threw it too high. No, he didn't. He threw the ball. I'm telling you, he threw the ball exactly where you're supposed to throw it. You're supposed to throw it up. Okay? Because you're trying to make sure that ball doesn't get picked. You're trying to make sure that the only person who has a play on that football is your wide receiver. It's a difficult pass. It's a difficult catch. They were put in a difficult position because of Deshaun Jackson. I don't agree with the common theme out there. I think if that was a 3rd and 2, we pick it up. Now, look, we can't, maybe Carson Wentz gets sacked the next play. We don't know. But let's be honest, the offensive line did a hell of a job in Washington, or against Washington, not in Washington, but against Washington. Okay? We looked good at the link in week 1 from the offensive line perspective. I mean, Wentz could have made a sandwich back there. So I didn't see the same thing that the commentaries, and the different like football personalities are saying that they see. I don't see it the same way. Okay. I think they're looking at the film already making a conclusion and then trying to verify that conclusion based upon the film instead of just letting the film come to them, really break down the film and then say like, oh, okay, this might be actually more likely what's going on. That's my perspective.
Is in the backfield, number 43. They flare him out. Wentz hangs in there, fires high.
Let's talk about the Atlanta game. Because the Atlanta game, I think, is the one that troubles most of us. Because although I think the Eagles fought, and I think they fought hard in that game felt like a playoff game to me. Both teams came out hitting and fighting, and we weren't 100%. We had a dumb luck run of really bad injuries. I mean, if I remember correctly, like Alshon was only on the field for like the first possession of the football game. Deshaun came off basically after maybe I think the second possession or so. I mean, he wasn't on there for very long. Goddard didn't even play. Like, it wasn't ideal. Like, we didn't have our best tools out there. And Atlanta came in desperate. They played desperate and they played hard. And our offensive line, maybe it was the turf. Maybe it has to do with that dome and that turf. I don't know. But it didn't look as good. But I'm going to go to that particular play because it was a 3rd and 7 on our opening drive. Okay. Was the pass perfect? No. Was it still a decent pass? Yes. Was that pass completely catchable? Yes. What was the common thread? Nelson Aguilar, for the second time on a 3rd down conversion on the opening drive of a football game, couldn't quite come down with the catch. And I'm not trying to knock Nelson Aguilar because I like Aguilar. I think he's a really good slot receiver in this league. But is it that Wentz isn't too warm and Pederson's play calling isn't too warm and Groh isn't really contributing? Or is it that maybe the players just aren't executing in the first 2 weeks? I'm just saying. Watch the play again. I'll run it one more time and just watch that play.
Is in the backfield, number 43. They flare him out. Wentz hangs in there, fires high.
I want to dive down deep into this play calling aspect because I don't agree with the narrative. I don't. I'm not saying our play calling has been excellent because, in my opinion, sometimes the personnel decisions reflect back on Doug Pederson. Okay. I'm not completely excusing Mike Groh because I think Mike Groh does, he's got a role in this because he does help design the playbook. But I think some people are over attributing how much Mike Groh, lends himself to the play calling. Because let's be honest, Mike Groh's not doing the play calling unless we're in a 2-minute offense. It's Doug Pederson. Some of you guys are confused on that point. Unless you can show me an article or something that points to otherwise, as far as I know, Doug Pederson still calls the plays and Mike Groh runs our 2-minute offense. Okay? Yes, he contributes to the overall playbook, but it's like some people think that Mike Groh doesn't have this coaching pedigree. And I think it might be wise for people to remember where Mike Groh came from and what he was. So, just like Frank Reich and just like Doug Pederson, Mike Groh was a quarterback, okay? He didn't achieve the same professional success that those two men did, but he was on a very good UVA football team in the mid-90s. Okay, he was the quarterback of some very good UVA football teams. He's a kid from Randolph, New Jersey. Obviously, he went to UVA. He was on those mid-90s, the 94 and 95 like UVA teams that had like Tiki and Rondé Barber, and like one of those teams went on to play in the Peach Bowl and beat Georgia, I think, in the Peach Bowl. Like, those were very good UVA teams that he was the quarterback of. He's got a coaching pedigree where he returned back to his alma mater and he coached there. And I remember it vividly because I was the Phillip Rivers NC State days. Okay. He was the wide receiver coach in 2001 through 2002. And then 2003, he took on the added duties of the quarterback coach there. Okay. So he helped prep and coach Matt Schwab, who eventually became a halfway decent quarterback in the NFL. Very good backup quarterback. Became the offensive coordinator at UVA in 2006. Was once again the quarterback coach at Louisville in 2010. Had a couple of stints with Alabama. Once is like kind of an offensive quality, I think, kind of role. And then later on, he went back to Alabama as the wide receiver coach in 2011. Won a national title, I think, his first time around in Alabama. Was obviously wide receiver coach in Chicago for a little while. Became the Los Angeles Rams passing game coordinator and wide receiver coach, and then eventually went to Philly as a wide receiver coach, and then became our offensive coordinator. This guy has a coaching pedigree, and I think that gets forgotten in the storyline of him because of how good Frank Reich was. It's hard to hold on. Frank Reich was. It's hard to hold on to coaches of Frank Reich's caliber, just like Doug Pederson was hard for Andy Reid to hold on. Those guys are going to move on and become head coaches. There's nothing we can do about that. Mike Groh is a decent enough coordinator. When we make these conversations, we talk about these kind of things, we have to really think, who are you replacing them with? Okay, I'll admit, I really want to do Staley in the offensive coordinator position, but I'm not opposed to Mike Groh. But that decision's already been made, and the players like Mike Groh, and that really gets left out of the conversation. The players love Mike Groh. It's just the truth.
What has the adjustment been like going from Coach Reich to Mike Groh, and what's kind of been the biggest difference, I guess, in those two guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're different guys and different personalities and everything. Both incredible football minds. Obviously we loved working with Frank for a couple of years, but we don't feel Coach Groh's missed a beat in that area. And he understands the game, sees the game the same way us quarterbacks do as well. So it's been a really smooth transition with him.
I get why people get a little uneasy with Mike Groh. I do. And it's hard because he has such an up and down resume. I mean, the things he did in UVA as a position coach were pretty good. He was a very good quarterbacks coach, pretty damn good wide receivers coach. His tenure didn't end the greatest as the offensive coordinator there. But, he was valued. The league valued him. Colleges valued him. Louisville wanted him as their quarterback coach. Alabama wanted to bring him in as their wide receiver coach. The league wanted this kid. And then the NFL, the real league, wanted this kid. And Groh is a younger guy. He's in his later 40s. He's not that old for a coach. His NFL career is a little up and down. He had a really good unit one year with Chicago, worked with Alshon Jeffrey. They were a top 5 passing offense and receiving offense. They were a very good unit. They slipped down his last year in Chicago into the 20s, and then he ends up going to a Jeff Fisher St. Louis team, Los Angeles now, but that was just not very good. But Jeff Fisher, who was a veteran coach in this league, and let's be honest, he kind of ruined quarterbacks. Jeff Fisher did want this man to basically be his passing game coordinator because, let's be honest, Jeff Fisher wasn't going to do it. And the Eagles thought enough of him to put him in with a young Carson Wentz in 2017 and fire a guy who had been in Philadelphia, Greg Lewis. Fire him after only 1 year and bring in Mike Groh because they thought higher of Mike Groh, and he did a pretty damn good job in 2017. I'll admit his offensive coordinator, it's hard to get a feel for him because, in my opinion, if we're going to put a lot of the blame on this kid, well, he's not really a kid, he's older than me even. If we're going to put the blame on Mike Groh, then I think Doug Pederson has to be willing to devolve some of the responsibilities to Mike Groh. Because I think Mike Groh takes heat for a lot of stuff a lot of shit that's not his fault. That's my opinion on it. So, my overall point to close this talk out, guys. What I think the problem is, to begin with, I don't think the problem is that Carson Wentz is Brett Favre. I keep hearing that comparison. And look, there is a part of Carson Wentz's game that does resemble Brett Favre, but they're not one of the same, okay? Yes, Brett Favre was athletic. Carson Wentz is athletic. Brett Favre had a strong arm. Carson Wentz has a strong arm. Brett Favre took chances. Carson Wentz takes chances. They're both gunslingers. The thing is that Brett Favre, through the first few years of his games, like his first few seasons in the NFL, wasn't nearly as dynamic as Carson Wentz. He was very good, but he struggled a little more. In my opinion, Brett Favre, who was a Hall of Famer and one of the most enjoyable football players to ever watch, really had some up and downs. You know what I'm saying? The variance between his performances were way more severe than Carson Wentz's. I don't like that comparison. I think it's bullshit. I've heard people compare him to Aaron Rodgers. Look, athleticism, arm strength, right? What I saw in Washington when he was climbing the pocket and sliding, both left and right. Sure, I saw those comparisons. A little too early to call Carson Wentz Aaron Rodgers. This is what I will say about Carson Wentz. He's got the talent. You can't just tell him to be safe. It's not who this kid is. He's a gunslinger. He's going to try to extend plays and make them. At times, he's going to get sacked because of it. He's going to take shots because of it. It just doesn't need to become a habitual problem. Okay? It's getting annoying to hear people say this shit. Like, it's football. It's football. That's all I can say. It's football. This kid is a playmaker. He's going to make plays. Okay? There are times when we're trying to get the ball over the top. He's going to need to let the play develop. That means holding on to the football a little longer. You don't want this kid to hold on to the football any longer? Don't make stupid-ass penalties like Deshaun Jackson did. Okay? Don't put him in situations where it's 3rd and long. And that's the keys to the real, where I see these solving this first quarter and first half woes. Real key to it is score on your fucking opening possession. Okay? We were in position these first 2 games to do that, and through drop passes, foolish mistakes, mental errors, took away drives. Did you notice that both of those passes went to the left side of the field on the opponent's 45? Both passes. Both to the same receiver, Nelson Aguilar. I like Aguilar. I'm not saying get rid of Aguilar. I like Aguilar. He's got to make these plays. He's got to make these catches. He converts those catches, and we're on to something. My last point about this. For the love of God, whether it's Pederson, whether it's Groh, whoever the hell it is, put in more running plays. Jesus Christ, can we run the ball, please? I'm not saying you got to run the ball more than you pass it. I'm not saying it has to be a 60-40 mix, but we can't be so damn predictable. And we got to be better about the running back rotation. You can have running back by committee, but you can't keep someone out every 1 or 2 plays. It's got to be in series, every 1 or 2 series. Like, you've got to be smarter than your fucking fans. And there are times you guys aren't achieving that. Like, yes, I know we're just fans, and blah, 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 but most of us have played the fucking game before. Like, we understand the game. And there's some shit you guys do at times that doesn't make sense. All right, y'all, that's all I'm going to say about the topic. I don't think Carson Wentz has been that bad. I think there are times like we saw in the Atlanta game where the pocket was breaking down. And I know I've heard LB, Lord Brunson, some others say like, oh, no, the receiver fucked up on the route tree. No, he didn't. You heard Doug Pederson. The receiver didn't make a mistake there. Carson Wentz tried to go for the big play, threw it off his back foot, and threw it right into Trufant's hands while he was sitting down. That's what happened. So, yes, we've got to protect Carson Wentz. And you know what? We caught a bad run of injuries. We've got to get healthy, or we're going to be in deep shit this year. That's all I got, guys. All right, y'all, I'm about to hop off here. Just do me 3 things, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what y'all think, guys. Come on. Why are we so damn anemic? What are your thoughts, guys? I'm not the only person here with opinions and thoughts. Why do you think we're so anemic? What are your thoughts on Groh? I know this is going to get interesting because I know some people are adamantly opposed to Mike Groh. I'm not a huge Mike Groh fan, but I don't think that's the root problem with the hell's going on here. I don't think it's Mike Groh. I just think sometimes the X's and O's just don't get executed, and we've had some bonehead mental mistakes from veteran players that took us out from 3rd and long. We had a shitty, and that was just a 1-game span. Shitty offensive line play that was down in Atlanta, and Carson Wentz, I think, was trying to make too many plays in an Atlanta game, and that kind of got away from us. That's my thoughts. All right, y'all. I'm out of here. This video's long. Let me close it out, guys. All right. Bye.